Good morning. Look closely at the palm of your hand. The lines, the texture, the subtle changes in grip strength over the years. We are told by a well-meaning but fundamentally outdated medical paradigm that by the time you reach 75, 80, or 85, your biology is essentially a runaway train of inevitable decline. We are taught to expect the fading of memory, the shrinking of physical horizons, and the quiet surrender of independence as an unalterable tax on longevity. But what if the most sophisticated neuroimaging and molecular research of the last 24 months proves that this narrative is not just pessimistic, it is biologically incorrect? What if a select group of octogenarians has quietly cracked a hidden cellular code, maintaining the cognitive processing speed of individuals 3 decades younger, and a physical resilience that baffles standard clinical assessments? I am Dr. Liam Cooper. Over the course of more than 2 decades practicing clinical gerontology and studying the precise biomarkers of aging, I have witnessed a striking phenomenon that textbook medicine routinely misses: the seniors who remain genuinely one of a kind, those who don't just survive, but actively dominate their daily lives, holding absolute sovereignty over their schedules, their minds, and their physical mobility, are not genetically bulletproof. Instead, they are unconsciously exploiting a series of hyperspecific behavioral triggers that literally alter gene expression and neural architecture in real time. Today, we are going to bypass the generic, superficial health advice you've heard 1,000 times. We are counting down 6 extraordinarily advanced, scientifically validated behaviors that prove you possess the biological trajectory of a superager. Pay close attention to number 1. Because it turns a foundational rule of modern cardiology completely on its head. Let us begin at number 6 with a protocol that directly impacts your microvascular infrastructure, yet is almost universally ignored during routine geriatric evaluations: the microvascular thermal reset. As we cross the threshold of 75, our bodies experience a quiet but devastating structural shift known as microcirculatory pruning. The vast, intricate network of microscopic capillaries that delivers oxygenated blood to your brain's white matter and the deep tissues of your vital organs begins to naturally recede. Simultaneously, the hypothalamus, the brain's central thermostat, undergoes a subtle cellular desensitization. This means that older adults routinely experience an internal drop in core body temperature during the early morning hours, paired with a blunted peripheral circulation. When you wake up in this state, your internal organs are effectively operating in a low-flow, chilled environment. Most people inadvertently shock this fragile state by immediately flooding their system with ice-cold water or heavy, vasoconstricting caffeine. The truly exceptional seniors, the biological outliers, do something entirely different. They initiate their day with what clinical research identifies as a targeted internal thermal flush. They consume 12 to 14 ounces of pure water, heated precisely to a range of 100 degrees Fahrenheit to 105 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, immediately upon waking. This is not a casual preference for a warm beverage. It is a highly calculated hemodynamic intervention. When this warm fluid hits the nerve endings in your stomach lining, it triggers an immediate reflex pathway through the vagal nerve and the celiac plexus. This causes a rapid systemic vasodilation, meaning your blood vessels expand, immediately restoring microcirculatory flow to your brain and extremities, without forcing your heart to pump harder. Data from advanced plethysmography studies show that this single morning action increases basal metabolic efficiency by up to 12% and dramatically enhances the kinetic clearance of cellular waste products that accumulated in the brain overnight. Furthermore, this warm fluid activation provides a critical shield for your immune architecture. When your internal core temperature drops even slightly, your body's production of specialized T cells and mucosal immunoglobulins slows down. By manually elevating the temperature of the digestive tract first thing in the morning, you are optimizing the lymphatic environment where over 70% of your immune cells reside. The advanced synergy. Tip: to elevate this from a simple routine to a clinical-grade intervention, pair this morning warm water flush with a highly specific mineral matrix, a microscopic pinch of unrefined gray Celtic sea salt. After age 75, the cellular sodium-potassium pump loses its baseline efficiency, meaning plain water often washes straight through your extracellular space without actually hydrating the interior of your cells. The trace magnesium and sodium in unrefined salt act as an osmotic key, pulling that warm hydration directly across the cellular membrane, instantly plumping aging neurons and reducing early morning postural dizziness. If you are already drawn to warm liquids in the morning over iced drinks, your innate biological intelligence is already working to preserve your vascular youth. At number 5, we must confront a silent biological cliff that senior citizens step over completely unawares: anabolic resistance. In your 30s and 40s, your muscles were highly responsive. If you carried a suitcase or walked up a flight of stairs, your muscle cells readily absorbed amino acids and maintained their structural density. But after age 75, your cellular signaling pathways undergo a profound desensitization. The mTOR pathway, which acts as the primary genetic switch for muscle protein synthesis, becomes stubborn and sluggish. This means that casual walking, gardening, or standard light exercise no longer provides enough cellular signal to stop muscle wasting. This rapid, age-related destruction of muscle tissue and quality is known as sarcopenia, and it is a leading driver of early institutionalization. The seniors who are truly one of a kind do not just exercise. They intentionally break through this cellular barrier using asymmetric neuromuscular loading. They do not perform long, exhausting cardio sessions that simply drain their energy reserves. Instead, twice a week, they engage in short, highly focused intervals of deliberate resistance using asymmetric forces, such as using a single heavy tension loop on one side of the body, performing off-balance wall presses, or carrying an uneven load like a heavy grocery bag in only one hand for a designated distance. This specific style of uneven movement forces the deep, stabilizing muscles of your core, hips, and spine to fire in a state of high alert. More importantly, it recruits your high-threshold motor units, the fast-twitch muscle fibers that are the very first to wither away when we age. When you subject an aging muscle cell to this type of asymmetric mechanical tension, it deforms the cell membrane slightly. This physical deformation triggers an immediate biochemical cascade, releasing an enzyme called focal adhesion kinase, FAK. FAK bypasses your stubborn, age-related anabolic resistance entirely, sending a direct, non-negotiable command to your DNA to repair, rebuild, and maintain muscle density. A landmark clinical trial evaluated adults between the ages of 78 and 88 who participated in targeted neuromuscular resistance training. In less than 12 weeks, neuroimaging confirmed that not only did their cross-sectional muscle mass increase, but their motor unit firing consistency improved by a staggering 42%. They essentially rewired the electrical grid connecting their spinal cord to their lower extremities. The advanced synergy tip. To maximize the cellular impact of this habit, timing is everything. Superagers execute their asymmetric loading routine in a fasted state or directly before consuming a dense, isolated bolus of 30 grams of highly bioavailable protein. Because the older body's anabolic window is incredibly narrow, forcing amino acids into the bloodstream precisely when focal adhesion kinase levels peak guarantees that those nutrients are actively driven into the muscle architecture rather than being wasted by the liver. If you are already challenging your balance or doing exercises that make your muscles feel a deep, intentional burn, you are successfully fighting off muscle loss and keeping your physical independence completely intact. At number 4, we enter the deep structural spaces of the sleeping brain to look at a process that separates average aging from true neurological youth: glymphatic architecture optimization. For decades, science believed the brain simply rested during sleep. However, we now know that during deep, slow-wave sleep, the brain activates an advanced waste clearance system called the glymphatic system. Think of it as a nocturnal plumbing network. Glial cells pump cerebrospinal fluid through the gaps between your brain cells, literally power washing away toxic metabolic debris, including amyloid beta and tau proteins, the specific misfolded proteins directly tied to cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. Here is the problem. After age 75, the delta waves that drive this deep, slow-wave sleep naturally degrade by up to 80%. This loss means that even if an older adult stays in bed for 8 hours, their brain's internal cleaning cycle might only run for a few minutes. This incomplete cleaning leads to a slow buildup of cellular waste, which manifests as that familiar morning brain fog. The seniors who remain completely sharp and mentally agile at 85 do not leave this deep cleaning process to chance. They protect their glymphatic efficiency by using structural and behavioral triggers to optimize their sleep architecture. First, they anchor their internal clock by going to bed and waking up within the exact same 20-minute window every single day, without exception. This rigid consistency strengthens a weakening circadian rhythm, forcing the brain to maximize its time in deep sleep. Second, they carefully control their sleep environment's temperature. They keep their bedroom tailored to a crisp range of 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. As we age, our bodies lose some ability to self-regulate temperature. By cooling the room from the outside, you trigger a natural drop in core body temperature, which is the exact physiological key required to unlock and sustain deep, slow-wave sleep. Finally, these biological outliers protect their prefrontal cortex by avoiding mentally overstimulating activities for at least 60 minutes before hitting the pillow. They understand that late-night cognitive stress or digital engagement keeps the brain's processing centers active, delaying deep sleep onset by an average of 45 minutes in older adults. The advanced synergy. Tip: to significantly boost your glymphatic clearance, use a specific physical alignment technique. Sleep on your side, ideally your left side. Clinical neuroimaging shows that lateral positioning reduces gravitational resistance within the brain's venous pathways, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow up to 25% more effectively compared to sleeping on your back or stomach. Combine this positioning with 5 to 10 minutes of slow box breathing before sleep to drop your nighttime cortisol levels and quickly guide your brainwaves into the deep cleaning zone. If you are already prioritizing a cool, deeply consistent sleep schedule and waking up feeling clear-headed, you are actively flushing away toxic debris and keeping your mind young. At number 3, we must expose a deeply flawed piece of nutritional advice that is quietly robbing seniors of their strength and vitality. The idea that your dietary needs naturally shrink as you get older. In reality, the science of aging proves that the older we get, the more precise and deliberate our nutrition must be. This brings us to a foundational habit of true superagers: spatially distributed amino acid saturation. As we discussed in Part 3, the aging body suffers from anabolic resistance. However, this resistance doesn't just affect how your muscles respond to exercise. It completely alters how your digestive system handles food. When a 30-year-old eats a small piece of chicken, their body easily breaks it down and uses the amino acids to repair muscle tissue. But after age 75, your intestinal tracts lose a significant portion of their active transporter proteins, and your liver greedily hogs amino acids for its own metabolic processes. If you only consume a small, casual amount of protein at breakfast, like a single egg or a splash of milk in your oatmeal, you fail to reach what scientists call the leucine trigger threshold. The liver and internal organs absorb all those amino acids, leaving absolutely nothing for your skeletal muscles. Your body remains in a catabolic state, meaning it continues to break down its own muscle tissue for energy. The exceptional 80-year-olds who still walk with a commanding, steady stride don't just eat protein. They balance their intake across the day with mathematical precision. They ensure that their 3 primary meals each contain a minimum of 30 to 35 grams of highly bioavailable protein. By delivering this specific amount to the digestive tract at spaced intervals, they flood the bloodstream and create a temporary surplus of amino acids. This surplus spills past the liver and fully saturates the skeletal muscles. This saturation is the exact signal required to flip the stubborn mTOR genetic switch back into an active, muscle-rebuilding state. According to long-term tracking data, seniors who maintain this precise distribution pattern show a 41% lower rate of mobility-related hospitalizations and possess significantly higher immune resilience, because immune cells run entirely on a steady supply of dietary amino acids. The advanced synergy. Tip: to ensure your body actually utilizes every single gram of this protein, pair your protein-dense meals with a highly targeted micronutrient catalyst. 100 milligrams of food-derived vitamin C, such as fresh bell peppers, dark leafy greens, or a squeeze of raw lemon juice. Vitamin C acts as an essential cofactor for lysyl hydroxylase, a crucial enzyme that cross-links amino acids to form high-quality collagen infrastructure. This process doesn't just benefit your muscles, it actively reinforces the joint cartilage, connective tendons, and blood vessels that hold your physical frame together. If you are already making a conscious effort to include a robust source of protein with every single meal, you are protecting your physical structure from the inside out. At number 2, we look at a highly advanced behavioral mechanism that has a profound impact on your biological lifespan: the Neuro-Humoral Synaptic Accelerator. When we evaluate cognitive health after age 75, many people focus exclusively on brain games or isolated mental exercises. However, cutting-edge cognitive neuroscience reveals that your neural architecture is deeply connected to your social environment. When an older adult falls into a routine of passive isolation, spending days watching television or speaking only in short, transactional pleasantries with retail workers, a destructive process known as synaptic pruning accelerates. Because the brain requires a massive amount of metabolic energy to maintain its billions of neural connections, it operates on a strict use it or lose it rule. If complex, real-time interpersonal circuits are not regularly fired, the brain quietly trims away those unused pathways. This structural erosion directly causes a rapid drop in cognitive reserve. The seniors who remain brilliantly sharp, quick-witted, and emotionally resilient at 85 do not let their minds slip into this passive state. They treat communication as a high-performance cognitive workout. Every single day, they deliberately seek out at least one multi-layered active social engagement. This means they don't just passively sit in a room with others. They engage in deep conversations that require them to actively interpret body language, analyze tone of voice, recall matching memories, and formulate real-time complex responses. When you participate in this level of active mental exchange, your prefrontal cortex lights up on a neuroimaging scan. This intense neural firing triggers an immediate release of oxytocin and endogenous neuropeptides directly into the synaptic clefts. This chemical wave suppresses systemic cortisol, lowers blood markers of inflammation, like interleukin-6, and keeps the brain's neural networks incredibly dense and active. Long-term clinical data from the National Institute on Aging confirms that maintaining this regular, high-engagement interaction lowers an older adult's structural risk of cognitive decline by up to 64%. The advanced synergy tip. To amplify this neurological benefit, top-tier superagers combine their daily social engagement with physical movement, a strategy known as dual-task neurophysical anchoring. For example, they will go for a brisk walk with a friend while discussing a complex topic or participate in an interactive group class. This simultaneous physical and mental demand forces the brain to produce a massive surge of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF acts exactly like a premium, high-potency fertilizer for your brain cells, keeping your memory centers physically robust and highly resilient against age-related change. If you are someone who actively schedules calls, participates in community debates, or goes out of your way to have meaningful, deep conversations, you are preserving your brain's processing power. We have reached number 1. This is the single most defining behavioral marker of a true biological outlier after age 75, and it challenges everything you have ever been told about aging gracefully: the high-friction cognitive discomfort matrix. Most well-meaning doctors tell seniors to avoid stress, simplify their routines, and enjoy comfort. But if your goal is to keep the mind of a 50-year-old when you are 85, comfort is your greatest enemy. As your brain crosses the 75-year threshold, it naturally tries to conserve metabolic energy. To do this, it stops building new neural pathways and begins relying exclusively on your established, decades-old mental highway system. This is why many seniors slip into highly repetitive habits. They do the same crosswords, read the same genres, and stick to the same familiar routines. While this feels safe, it actually triggers a rapid drop in your cognitive reserve, the brain's structural backup system that allows it to resist age-related decline. Seniors who are truly one of a kind reject this passive decline. Every single day, they deliberately force their brains into a state of productive cognitive discomfort. They don't just solve simple puzzles. They actively learn entirely new, complex skills that they have no prior experience with. They learn to speak a foreign language, master a complex musical instrument, or learn digital video editing and AI prompting workflows from scratch. The key here is the struggle. When you sit with an instrument or a difficult skill and feel frustrated, confused, and out of your comfort zone, you are not failing. That exact feeling of friction is the physical sensation of your brain producing a massive chemical surge to force neurogenesis, the creation of brand new brain cells in the hippocampus. Data from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian birth cohort studies confirmed that seniors who consistently engage in at least 30 minutes of novel, highly challenging learning show a 47% slower rate of brain atrophy on MRI scans compared to those who stick to comfortable routines. The advanced synergy. Tip: to chemically lock in the new neural networks you build during these intense learning sessions, pair your daily cognitive challenge with a concentrated daily dose of docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, ideally sourced from wild-caught fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or a premium marine lipid supplement. DHA is the primary structural fat that builds the actual membranes of your brain cells. Landmark data from the Framingham Heart Study reveals that seniors with high cellular levels of DHA show a significantly stronger neuroplastic response to learning. The DHA acts as the fertile soil, ensuring the new mental seeds you plant take deep, permanent root. If you are someone who constantly seeks out new challenges, refuses to let technology confuse you, and loves the thrill of mastering a difficult new skill, you are a textbook superager. You are actively expanding your brain's processing power. Whenever you are ready, type Part 8 for our final chapter, where we will bring this scientific blueprint together and close with a personal message from my heart. When we look closely at these 6 advanced protocols, from the micro-vascular thermal reset to the high-friction cognitive discomfort matrix, a profound truth emerges. Exceptional longevity after age 75 is not a passive stroke of genetic luck. It is an active, deliberate masterpieces of behavioral engineering. The human body and mind do not run on a fixed, unalterable countdown timer. Even at 75, 80, and 85, your biology retains a remarkably stubborn, beautiful capacity for structural resilience. It is constantly listening to the signals you send it. When you choose strategic hydration over casual sipping, asymmetric resistance over passive rest, and productive mental friction over comfortable routine, you are rewriting your genetic script in real time. You are choosing to live life entirely on your own terms. I am Dr. Liam Cooper. After more than 2 decades standing shoulder to shoulder with patients navigating this exact chapter of life, I can tell you with absolute clinical certainty, it is never, ever too late to build a masterpiece out of your health span. You are worth every ounce of the effort. Clinical disclaimer. The information presented in this video series is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to serve as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your primary care physician or a qualified healthcare specialist before implementing any new nutritional, fluid, or exercise protocols to ensure they are safe and appropriate for your specific clinical history. If this deep scientific breakdown brought real value to your life today, please take one quick second to hit that subscribe button right now, turn on your notifications, and drop a like on this video. Now, I want to hear your story. Leave a comment below with your current age and tell me honestly, which of these 6 advanced habits are you already nailing? And which exact one are you going to start building tomorrow morning? I read and reply to every single comment in this community. Thank you for your time, your trust, and your commitment to your own independence. Take exceptional care of yourself, and I will see you in the very next video.